We'll have a total of 10 laps to go, and you can see Paul Blevins, the starter, saying 1 to go to green. So this is going to be the old-fashioned shootout. Let's reset it for you because we're just coming off our longest green flag run of the day of 83 laps. It'll be Ryan Hunter-Reay is going to take the outside again. Oriole Servia second. Scott Dixon third. Fourth, James Hinchcliffe. Fifth, Will Power. Danica Patrick sixth. And Takuma Sato seventh. Those are the only 7 cars on the lap. And Michael Andretti not happy, obviously. His man's leading, and he liked the moisture. And now
no start.
They've called it. And the word is it's because of the light rain in the air again. So it was.
And this is a nervous time as we watch Tim Cindric right now, who's calling the shots for the number 12 machine for Will Power.
Let me correct something. We were told initially it was because of moisture. It was because the cars were not lined up properly. So that's why we're going 1 more lap. So it looks like we are going to go back to green flag racing.
And this is where drivers will want to take advantage of the drivers that are around them. Now for Ryan Hunter-Reay, he only has 3 push to pass left in his camp. Oriole Servia 8, Hinchcliffe 7, Dixon 6, with only a few laps left to go. Does Hunter-Reay have enough to keep in front?
Again, it's Ryan Hunter-Reay, the race leader. He chose the outside lane. Oriole Servia trying to pick up his first win for Newman Haas Racing. Going to spin. And it includes Will Power. Danica Patrick spins. And you see Michael Andretti, he was complaining at the beginning of this because, and there's damage to Danica's car.
The track's probably just a little bit, that mist comes down. It doesn't take much with these slicks, Marty.
And this is really going to affect Will Power. Rick, let's check in. What's going on down there?
Well, I'm standing by with I will describe a very agitated Michael Andretti. You called this. You said that was going to happen out there.
Yep, and this is the worst officiating I've ever seen. Sorry, Brian, but this was bad. Really bad. Well, we lost the car and we lost the lead. I mean, this is just, you don't do that. It was wetter than when they threw the yellow earlier and they threw the green. I mean, it's just...
you came down, you appealed to the officials.
I tried. It doesn't matter. Really, really disappointed. I mean, they normally Brian does a great job, but this one he really missed it.
Michael Andretti once again came down, was yelling at the officials. Ryan Hunter-Reay in the car was pleading, saying, this is stupid. I can't even put the power down. As a result, you saw what happened.
It was an all-skate session, that's for sure, coming down the front straightaway. And because of the way this track is constructed, you know, you don't have any room there because there's the pit wall that you see Will Power backed into. And, Jamie, what are you hearing from Tim Cindric?
I'll tell you what, for a good 5 minutes before they threw the green, Will Power was yelling, no, we cannot go. You see him frustrated. I have never heard Will Power use language like he did and scream like he did. He is going in to talk to the officials. He had a 20-point swing in the championship going. You see him try to get stopped. He's going to have a talk. He's frustrated, and they're saying the same thing. That was awful officiating. You see him very frustrated talking to Charles there. Tim Cindric is on his way back to the garage to calm his driver down.
We are going into a red flag situation, and you can see how livid Will Power is, because as of right now, he's dropped to 9th, and it could get a lot worse. So let's go back and show you exactly what happened.
Number 650 horsepower, Danica tries to get on the power, puts her foot on the pedal, back end just starts to come around. You can see everybody else still sliding around doing the same thing.
It collected Takuma Sato. It also collects Will Power. You see Ana Beatriz in this. Here's another angle.
Now hers is the first car that starts to come around, which starts the change reaction. Obviously, Brian Barnhart, the chief steward, needs to make the decisions the best that he can, but you can see a little bit of moisture on the lens here. Not sure if that's from before. She just touched the throttle, Marty, and the back end came around.
Onboard with Briscoe. So Briscoe escapes the carnage, and there is Michael and his reaction. And of course, Will Power, saw him getting out of the car. Here's a replay of that as he is just beside himself.
It's frustrating. You know, he's not had the season that he wanted to. He's been so dominant, so many racetracks, had some bad luck, some bad calls. Situation at Mid-Ohio, just with an unfortunate scenario of being the wrong place at the wrong time with the yellow.
He was at 47 points the way it was, and now it's 57 points based on where he is right now. And if this race restarts, it's going to get even worse because there's still cars that could pass him for position.
Well, you saw the frustration with him right there. Unfortunately, that gesture is probably going to cost him. He's going to be a little lighter in the pocketbook, I think, by the time the officials get finished with him on that one.
Yes, and we apologize because obviously Will doesn't realize that we're live on the air with all that.
Have you had a conversation with Dario yet?
No, I just jumped out. And at the end of the day, we were looking strong, but the rain started. And under the condition of starting, it was all the crescendos and all the accordion stuff that the completely front of the low was this, how can I say?
Should this race have been restarted in your mind under these conditions?
It was a difficult call, but I think the moisture was maybe a bit too much. Thank you. Thank you.
In the Paddock area. Ryan's best finish this year, as we mentioned earlier, third. He did it twice at Toronto, and then, of course, last week at Mid-Ohio. A very unhappy Jimmy Vasser is the result of what happened to Takuma Sato in this last melee.
I was interested to hear Takuma Sato's take on that when it looked like his car was going straight down towards the restart when he and Dario got together there. If he had something in his eye, maybe that's what Dario was talking about, him just being a little bit too close to him on the restart, but can't wait to hear the outcome of that conversation between the two of those drivers.
You can see Jimmy very animated there as these guys are all frustrated.
Well, we talked about that team was going to leave. Jimmy told us this morning with all three cars to go off and do a test here with Tony Kanaan headed to Sebring to do some work there to get ready for the Baltimore race, and then the other drivers with EJ Vizo and Takuma Sato heading out to Sonoma to get ready for that race, which takes place later this season. And will they be able to go ahead and do all that right now, getting a lot of work done for the upcoming races?
Now that, I'm sorry to interrupt, but Jamie has caught up with Will Power.
Well, and as I reported, I heard Will saying for 5 minutes, let's not go green because the rain is coming. Will, what is it like being in the cockpit when you're told you have to race in conditions like that?
We were begging him. I was begging him, please do not go green. It's too slippery. And from what Tim Cindric was saying, so was everyone else. So everyone was saying it.
And you were yelling at the officials, Brian Barnhart in particular. Are you going to go talk to him, and what will you say?
There's no use. He makes such bad calls all the time. This has got to be it. They cannot have this guy running the show because that was a decision that put a lot of drivers in danger. And, you know, you saw how many people crashed on the front straight, and it was no condition to race in. Shame on him.
Came back from a lap down. You gained 20 points on Dario. At that point, you were 5th. What was it like at that start when it went green?
It was just really slippery. You know, and Danica lost it. So I reacted and went this way, and I saw Briscoe coming, so I reacted, spun. Then I got hit by like 3 or 4 people, and that hurt too. Man, I just can't believe that they make decisions like that. I mean, what are those guys up there doing? They have Alonso. He's raced. He'd never race in these conditions. So to me, it was disgraceful.
Those officials that you were yelling at on the radio are the same ones that hand down fines and penalties. Do you think any are coming your way?
Yeah, I know that I lost my temper, and that was bad of me to do that. But I couldn't help it. I was so emotional about it because we had such a good day. And we begged them not to do it.
Big points implication here. Of course, Dario Franchitti out, but Will Power is chasing him in the standings. Marty.
Let's listen to Ryan Hunter-Reay on the radio on the restart.
This is stupid.
I can't even put the power down. Ryan, just deal with it and do the best job you can. No, he got a better launch because it's wet and I couldn't put the power down at all. Second gear, just slide the rear of the car.
And of course, that was right before we went back to green flag racing, and you saw the end result. Now,
as we talked about before, the drivers do report back, and there's the checkered flag.
Checkered flag is out. Now that means Ryan Hunter-Reay is going to be your race winner. So this race is now officially over. And again, we're still trying to get Brian Barnhart in here to discuss with us what happened on the track and how this decision all came about. But we are now being told this race is over. Ryan Hunter-Reay picks up the win. And Michael Andretti is now a lot happier than he was just a few minutes ago. For Ryan, it will be his 5th career win, 2nd on an oval. Remember, he won back at Milwaukee in 2004. 3rd different Andretti Autosport driver to visit victory lane this year. Marco won at Iowa, and of course, Conway won back at Long Beach. And there is Ryan Hunter-Reay. And I guarantee you, he is thrilled that this is over, because he will pick up the win. Gary, you've caught up with Michael?
Once again, how much does this salve the frustration and the disappointment of earlier?
It helps a lot. A win's a win. You know, I'm just so happy for DHL and Sundrop and Circle K. I mean, they've been hanging in there with us, and finally got Ryan in victory lane. You know, 3 cars for this team in victory lane this year. The only team to do that. I mean, I'm so proud of everybody, and so happy that you know, they made the decision they did, and thank you, God.
Okay, thanks, Michael.
So you can hear the sigh of relief in Michael Andretti's voice, and I'm sure that we're going to probably get the same reaction from Ryan Hunter-Reay once we get a chance to talk to him. And let's go to our Honda victory lane and find out how the winner feels. And Rick DeBrule, it's all yours.
Yeah, not the normal victory lane. We're standing up here at the front of the grid. He's getting a hug from Michael Andretti. He just got a hug from Marco Andretti just a moment ago. All right, we're going to talk about the win in a second, but you can walk us through what you were thinking and feeling when you were told you had to start this race under the conditions where it was so wet out there.
Well, it was. I couldn't even warm the tires. It was so wet on the track. You know, I don't think the fans at home really understand how wet it was. And with these cars, we only have a small contact patch. So the Firestone contact patch is amazing, but when there's some rain down, there's nothing there. I couldn't even put the power down in 2nd or 3rd gear. So wrong move on race control's part, but. Man, we had such a great car today. It was a blast to drive it. I love these short ovals. A lot of fun. We would have liked to have just finished it under green or whatever. It was a strange day, but sometimes racing is strange.
All right, for the last 4 races before this one, you'd kind of been slowly pegging away at a couple of 3rds, you had top 5s, top 10s. Did you know it was this close? Did you feel it?
I knew we had a good car this weekend. I mean, in practice, we've been really making the car better and better, and the guys have done such a good job. You know, we just kept at it. We have great chemistry on this team, and it's a great result. I'm sorry to see, you know, I think where the race turned was Dario and Sato getting together. I don't know who was at fault there or what it was. That's for them to decide. But, man, in traffic, the car was so good. And these guys deserve this win. It's for them. And Dad at home, how's it going?
Very happy.
Wish it was in a little bit of a different way, but we'll absolutely take it after the year we've had.
It always looks as a victory in the record books. Remember, his 2nd oval victory, the first time in an IndyCar.
There's Mike Conway congratulating him, and a very happy Ryan Hunter-Reay as we come upstairs into our broadcast booth, and joining us is President of Competition for the IZOD IndyCar Series, Brian Barnhart. Brian, take us through the process of what is going to be the official results. Who's going to finish behind Ryan Hunter-Reay now?
Well, the official result will be the positioning order prior to the last attempted restart. That's going to be an aborted restart. Obviously, the track conditions were not in a position that was safe for us to run. I couldn't agree more with what Ryan said. It's a mistake on race control's part, but again, based on the information we had, we're getting reports back from the observers, from our track safety people, said there wasn't a surface change, said it was a raceable condition. Obviously, the attempted restart showed that wasn't the case, so it was a mistake on race control's part, and the only right thing to do and the fair thing to do is go back to the running order prior to that restart, because we ended up tearing up some race cars we shouldn't have.
Okay, that's obviously going to make Will Power feel better, but before he knew this, obviously he's hot under the collar. Will there be any any ramifications because these guys were venting before they knew that you were going to change this result and go back to that?
Well, I mean, we haven't even looked at that yet, Marty. Obviously, it's we're trying to make sure we're doing the right thing here based on the conditions of the finish of this race. And when you look at what these guys are dealing with out there with their lives and safety on the line out there, their emotions and adrenaline's going to run hard. So we'll take a look at that after the fact, but that's secondary compared to doing the right thing for the finishing order.
And Brian, were you getting reports from the drivers up into your head control there to get into the
No, and that's the hard part about it. I know a lot of them are saying, but we didn't have a single pit tech call and say that we couldn't go because they were radioing in. Obviously, up top on the spotter stand, we knew there was light moisture on the racetrack, but we were counting on at that point in time the observers around the racetrack and our track safety, and they said there was no surface change and it's good to go. And race control, we only make the decisions based on the information that's provided to us. Clearly, in this case, it was not good information, not accurate, and wasn't the right thing to do.
And I know from running underneath you, you're all about safety. So it sounds like if you had got that information from the drivers that were in the cockpit, then you would have made a different decision.
Yeah, absolutely. We'd have never tried that, and that was so obvious as soon as you called it. It's almost one thing if one driver might have spun wheels or had it might not, but when three of them go that quick, it's pretty obvious it was a wrong call.
Well, Brian, thank you for taking the time and explaining that, and I think that it helps ease a lot of questions that were cropping up, obviously, during the red flag period. I'm going to throw a curveball because I don't have communication directly to the truck. Do we have the results? And thank you, guys. Here is what we have, and there is what it will be. Now, Oriol Servia will finish second, Scott Dixon third, James Hinchcliffe, Will Power, then Danica Patrick, Takuma Sato seventh, Ryan Briscoe eighth, Charlie Kimball ninth, and Vitor Mirror in the 10th positions.
Oriol Servia's team, Newman Haas Racing and Target Chip Ganassi Racing, appealed the decision. It was heard by a 3-judge panel in Indianapolis on Tuesday. And on Wednesday, the verdict came down. And it essentially said that, first of all, Brian Barnhart had the authority to render the decision that was made. And the panel agreed that his decision to abort the restart and set the final finishing positions according to how they were running before the attempted restart was indeed the right decision. Now, in addition to all that, on Thursday, Will Power was fined $30,000 and placed on probation for the rest of the season because of the gesture he made to race control.
Well, I have the guy who also thinks he's the New Hampshire winner, and just as Ryan said, there wasn't much celebrating for him either, so you were on pins and needles all week. Now, this weekend so far, you've had a sticker on your steering wheel that basically says, "I'm the winner." How do you move on from all that with that right in your face?
Well, we did move on. I mean, we had a great weekend. We had a lot of fun. As my engineer put it, he said it first. Best. We finished the race first. We just didn't win somehow, but anyway, we had a great weekend, and we're looking forward to continue that strike.
Now, you're starting 18th. Your teammate, though, is starting in the third row. Are you better than the numbers show, or are you having a problem here?
No, I think we're better. I just couldn't put it together in qualifying. It was totally my fault, and it's so tight. I missed the first cut by a 10. I was only a 10.5 lower than James in the first round, but that didn't allow me to go to the next round, and this is when it's that competitive, I'm 18th. But luckily, James did a great job for the team and make us good.
This will be Oriol's third start here. He has a best finish of 6th. Kevin?
You're an emotional driver. We saw that at New Hampshire, obviously. But you're also an aggressive driver, but you're also a driver now on probation. Does that change the probation, the way you race other guys?
Well, I'm not sure that I'm on probation on the track. I think it's off the track. So,
are you sure about that? I wouldn't chance it.
Well, I'm going to race how I race, and I'm usually very clean, so it is what it is. Hey, man, we're going for a championship.
All right, and don't expect any lack of aggression from Will Power here, trying to win it in Infineon today. The guys battling for the championship is standing by with.
I want to make it very clear. I'm 100% supportive of Brian Barnhart and his team. And I think that at the end of this season, we will reevaluate the rule book. I want to make sure that the rules in that rule book are what fans, the team owners, drivers want to see. And safety, of course, is a very important part of that.
That's yesterday here at Infineon Raceway, and the IndyCar CEO, Randy Bernard, joins us here on our set, along with our IndyCar insider, Robin Miller. Plenty to talk about. Let's talk about that clip there. You said you're 100% committed to Brian Barnhart. There's been a lot of conversation. Does that commitment extend to next season as well?
right now we're worried about this year, but yes, right now I am 100% committed to Brian Barnhart and race control. Brian did admit he made a mistake. That's much better than him trying to hide it. Let's get it out, let's clean it up, and go on. I think that we all know that there's some rules that need to be changed, and we'll look at that for next year, but we are going to stay focused on exactly what our plan is, and Brian's a part of that.
What are you hearing from teams?
I've had some teams come to me and say they want Brian to stay and don't give in on this, and I think it's important. Everyone that tells me they want to see Brian gone, I want to clarify one thing that when Donald Trump was going to be the Grand Marshal of the Indy 500, Facebook had 17,000 people sign up to get him fired. They did the same thing with Brian. They only had 308 responses. I think that shows you a little bit. I think what people want to see is they want to see a clean race, and they want to see us do our job, and I think that's what you're going to see. The other thing I want to point out really quick is transparency. We think it's very important to show the transparency of race control, and what we're going to do next week, starting next week, is if you have the Eyes on IndyCar app from Verizon, you will be able to watch race control live.
Robin,
Randy,
I'm guessing you have thoughts.
Here's the thing. He admitted his mistake after he threw Johnny Rutherford and the pit stewards under the bus, but the whole thing is he's become a bigger story than the drivers in the races. And I've been on your butt since I met you. Get rid of him, get him out of race control. I understand why you did in his first year because you're learning the series. But when your chief steward is a bigger story than your drivers and he's not consistent, you got a problem.
Yeah, no, and we've admitted that there was a problem last week. I think that, to me,
that's the way I got to say.
It's not just IndyCar that there's been mistakes made by referees or chief stewards. I mean, I can show you every form of motorsports, and even on this call, I think you can go back and look at it. There's been calls similar to this call made in other genres of motorsports. So I think that, what we have to do is continue to work for what the ultimate job is, and that is promoting our sport and making sure that it's as clean and great racing. And I think that starts with the rule book.
But it also starts with how you interpret the rule book and the way he interprets it. And when the drivers don't trust the guy that's the chief steward and they don't feel there's any consistency, it's time to make a change. And I think if you took a vote with the drivers, they'd all say we need a change, and there are some qualified people out there.
Well, I won't disagree with that, but what I would say is I think that the drivers, their job is to race and to go and do what they're paid to do, and that's race. And our job is to put who we think is in charge and to give them rules that they can race to, and I think that's what we're going to do.
All right, Randy, thank you so much for coming up and addressing these issues. At Baltimore next week.